Alright tubes, here's a little bit of follow-up from the quarter panel from the last video I did. In the last video, you remember we did some wet sanding and we took off a little bit of the gray primer to see where we were at. Well, since then, I went ahead and I've sanded all the gray primer, last year's winter coat, protective coat off, and I've gone through and I've went ahead and I put a fresh coat of the primer we're going to actually use, the sandable primer for the actual paint job, and it's the automotive touch-up. And no, I don't get commissions from these guys because, well, it's the first time I've used their products. And so far, I've been pretty happy with it. In addition, I've sanded off all the gray primer off the bottom. And you can definitely tell where the highs are. And they're not very, the highs are not very high, actually, because you can see you can barely see the metal coming through around here. So that means it's pretty low. This one was actually a little higher along with this one. And what I did is I went ahead and I tapped them in just slightly a little bit, and I'll use a little bit of filler glazing putty on that. Let me see if I can't find that here for you real quick. Here we go. We'll be using, let me get the stuff off of there. There we go. We'll be using some of this. I've never, well, let's say I haven't used it recently, and it worked good the last time I used it, which was years ago. So I usually stick with what I know. If you know anything better products or anything, you professionals out there, by all means, slap it on me, because I got a 69 GTO I want to do, and I'd like to use the better products. That includes any product you see me using. Of course, when I do the GTO, I'll probably be using a regular HVLB gun and stuff like that. So anyways, I want to get back onto this. So what I've been doing is, after I sanded this all down, got all the gray primer off of it, took an assessment of it, I taped everything off, and I've been reapplying this primer on the bottom section here. And it's been time, about, I guess about 10 minutes since I put a light coat on. And you can see I started it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some more of this stuff on. It goes on really thin and it goes on really dry, which is kind of good because you get to see how it lays. And it's kind of bad because it takes more coats, and these cans don't last very long at all. I think that whole section up there took just under a can, and that's a lot of primer. It took about 5 coats to get that completely sealed up. But one of the things I do like about this stuff is that it sands really nice. It sands hard, and it sands, what I mean by hard is it's almost like chipping off. It's kind of hard to explain. But it does dust up, but it stays hard, and it just sands really smooth and really well. Unless you've done body work, you wouldn't understand. But anyways, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put some more on here. And when you paint, I don't know if anybody's ever told you, but you start off of the area that you want to paint, and you go evenly. You keep the same distance. Ooh, boy, the wind just popped right in there. You keep the same distance from the vehicle, and you keep the can 90 degrees perpendicular. And what that does is make sure you got a nice even flow. So let's go ahead and, oh, the canopy came loose. So hold on a second, let me fix that. All right, I'm back. I forgot where I was at, but anyways, you stay perpendicular to the paint when you spray, and you don't want to try to spray it all over the thing. You don't want to make it a non-see-through coat at once. You want to have a little bit of see-through, and you wait about 10 minutes, and you go ahead and you put another light to medium coat on it, and you keep doing that until you can't see anything through the paint anymore, and then you have a fairly good coat. And if you want to go maybe a couple thin coats after that to make sure you get some good sanding, that's a good idea too. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So you start off the sides and you go to the off of the side over here. And if you don't do that, what happens is if you, let's use this small area as an example. If you start here and then go here and then go here and then go here, what happens is you pause here and you build up faster than you're building up in the middle. And then you come over here and you build up faster over here, then you build it in the middle. So what happens is the ends end up with like 2 to 3 times more paint than the actual center does. So when you paint, you start off to the side. I'm going to use this right here. Here we go. Start, and then you paint. The closer you are to it, the wetter the paint will be. The further away you are to it, the more dry it will hit the car. It'll dry faster, but you won't get as many good coats, and you'll get kind of like a little orange pilly effect. I'm not even sure if that's really good. You'll get like clumps of dust, big balls of paint on it, because instead of coming out kind of wet and laying on it, they come out and they all clump together, and then they splotch on it, and you end up with like a bunch of little balls. You don't necessarily want that. So here we go. So let's do another coat here, and then I'm going to come down here, and you want to overlap about 25% or 30%. And you're looking about 6 to 8 inches away from the paint. Most of the time the can will actually tell you what distance you use. When you do it though, make sure that you keep the same speed. So what happens is you don't end up with one area that's got more paint on it than another area that's thicker, I should say. Now when you go upside down with these cans, they'll run out of paint because the straw is at the bottom, and the only paint you would get out was what's left in the straw. That's also what you're supposed to do when you're done painting. You're supposed to turn the can upside down until it runs out of paint like that. That means that all the paint is out of the straw and is out of the nozzle. If you ever grabbed a can of paint and you went to spray and you couldn't spray, but there was paint in it and you could feel there was pressure in it, that's because you didn't clear the nozzle and clean it out before you put the can up. So not much left in this can, so I'm going to let it sit for a little bit and then we'll grab another one. So here's the paint job I just did as far as the overspray goes. And if you look real careful, you might be able to see some of those balls I was talking about, where it goes on kind of dry. And it is pretty warm outside. It's probably almost 100 degrees out here. And they normally like you to paint in a little bit cooler temperature. And but I got to do what I got to do. You know, it's this time of the year. It just is what it is. So anyways, let me go ahead and get some more primer on this later. Alright tubes, I've got about 3 or 4 really heavy coats on it. I had to put it on wet because it was just getting too dry, and it was kind of balling up before it got there. On the can it says up to 100 degrees. Well, it's real close to 100 degrees right now. So I don't think it's going to get any better. So we're just going to have to call it good for now. Also, we've got maybe a third of a can left of primer. So I think we're pretty much done with today. I'll go ahead and finish. When this dries up, I'll go ahead and finish and sand it out. And do some touch up if I break through any areas. And then we'll just wait for the other cans of primer to get in. So thanks for watching, guys, and I guess we'll catch you in the next video. God bless y'all, and keep Noneya out. Bye.